and I just get this query, I can use a data set. A data set is used when we are going to call the same query every time, and we're not going to change anything about it. So we use data sets. They're nice because we can cache them, cache the results on the Kynetx side, and we can keep those for as long as you'd like. And we don't have to worry about making additional calls out. Let's say you don't care. You always want to see the search result for bacon salt. You don't ever want the user to be able to change what they're actually searching for. You can just use a data set to call this, and then yeah, and it depends on how you set up your caching. If you just leave it off by default, it will just call it. And I think, I'm not exactly sure what the default. We do cache every query for a certain amount of time, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the default. Yeah, but for yeah, it might be for data set. Okay, so we don't want to use a data set for this, obviously, because we want to be able to change the query. So what I'm going to do is set up a data source, and I do that in my global block. And I just do data source, if I can type. And then I need to give my data source a name that it can then be referred to elsewhere in my application. So the name that I was going to give this one is called Twitter Search. And then we use the little arrow symbol. It says we're going to take everything out of this URL and we're going to dump it into Twitter Search. And we're going to use this query. Now, I actually don't need all of this. I just need that much. And that will declare a data source that I'll be able to access. So I'll go ahead and save this. What do you mean by real time? Yep. Yeah, so the question was, is it real time? And in that every time your app runs, is it going to go out and get those results fresh? Yes, unless you set some cacheable variables here. So this is also one of the tools that we use. This is our documentation website, and so under external data, talks about the differences between data sets and data sources, and gives you the different caching. You can cache for years, months, weeks, days, etc. Another site that I want to show you is DevX. So DevX is our own little Q&A site that we've used the Stack Overflow engine for handling this. This site is immensely helpful, very helpful. We are very responsive. We watch this site, and so if you post questions here, we're very quick to get back to them. We would like this to be very much a companion to our documentation site. In fact, that little regular expression used to pull the search term out of Google is actually on here. Yes. So you can gain reputation. Mike has a lot of reputation, I think the most of any user. Phil's right up there, as you can see. Phil and Jam and Horsey are all up there. And I want to bring this up because you really do have the full attention of the Kynetx development team when you post questions here. We like to respond to any questions that are posted here within 24 hours, but usually we're faster than that. Usually we can get to it very quickly. So this is a very good resource, and I hope that that you will participate in this site and make it better than it is. Okay, so now we have our search here, and I'm going to go ahead and go back, refresh my page, and run this. And we didn't change anything here, but I want to view the source. Sorry, this showed up on the wrong screen. And now it's a good time to start looking at the actual code that's being spit out. So here we have our init script that loads the Kynetx runtime. We have some data set. We're going to load a data set for this app. We have some other source code, and we have the kgrowl. Okay, so a data source is not going to be in there, but a data set. Okay, so we haven't run the rule, so there won't be anything there. Okay, good, thanks. Okay, so let's go back now and start to get some of this data out of here. So instead of doing a for each on this array, we're actually going to do a for each on our data source. This is actually not going to work to just put, yeah, I got to put data source colon in there. But I want to bring this up that this is actually not going to work as is, and I'll show you why here in a second. If you remember back on JSON-lint, what's actually returned is not an array. It's a JavaScript object here. And so we actually have to dig into this a little bit to get the array data. And so what we're going to do to get that array data is instead of just doing Twitter search. Now if Twitter did give it to us in an array, we'd be good. But it doesn't. And so we've got to do something a little bit more elaborate. And I'm just going to copy and paste this to save me typing. So I would have to use our pick operator that's going to go down into that JSON and find results. And the way that JSON-P works, and there's a little bit of art to this and a lot of trial and error to get to know the pick operator and how it works. But there's pretty good documentation on the JSON-P website, and we are using their library, so it matches perfectly. So that should give us an array, except for one thing. We're not actually telling Twitter what to search on. If you remember, we left the search term off the end here, and so we've got to add that as well. So the way we do that is this data source actually takes an argument, and that argument is going to be appended to the original query. So we can say Q equals plus term. And then that will give us, that will basically append a Q equals, and it takes care of the question mark for you. So another common error is for users to put the question mark in there. You don't need to do that. It will take care of it for you. Yeah.
I missed something on the select statement. You have two parenthetical references there.
Yes.
But you're saying setting term. How does term know the second one and not the first one?
Okay, so this question mark colon
in
regular expression says ignore this capture. Don't actually capture this.
Oh, but you have them in parentheses. So term ends up being the first result.
Yeah. So this is actually the first capture.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Because that question mark colon says ignore this capture. Just go on to the
Normally you just don't put it in parentheses if you don't care about it.
Yeah. So
okay, same thing though, right?
Just makes it a little bit easier.
I got you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So, Tom, I'd like to thank Tom for being the person that introduced me to regular expressions back at Center. Thanks, Tom.